She gave him everything, her love, her home, her sacrifices. But when he left, demanding half of what he never earned, she revealed a secret plan years in the making. What he thought was a victory turned into the biggest mistake of his life. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. My name is Deborah. I'm a 52-year-old woman from Birmingham, Alabama, and for 10 years I thought my marriage to Jerome was forever. We met at my cousin's barbecue. He had that old-school Southern charm and the kind of smile that could soften even the hardest day. The first time he laughed at one of my corny jokes, I was sold. I'd been working long shifts at the city hospital and Jerome was between jobs at the time, but he made me feel like I was coming home every time I was with him. From the very beginning, I built a life around him, little by little, brick by brick, believing that's what love was supposed to be. It's funny how the things you build out of love can end up being the very things that break you. I cooked, I cleaned, I kept our house a home. When Jerome's mama got sick, I was the one to bathe her, sit with her, pray over her in the middle of the night while Jerome's nerves got the best of him. I nursed him through 2 layoffs, never complained, just tightened the budget and picked up extra shifts. His sister's boy Terrence stayed with us for nearly a year while she tried to get back on her feet, and I made sure he got to school with a lunch packed every day. Love wasn't always easy, but I held us together because I believed in us. All the while, I was putting money away for my pension just like my daddy always told me. Always have your own, Deborah, he used to say. Even if you got a good man, you never know what tomorrow brings. Daddy worked at the steel mill until his back gave out, but he never let mama or us kids want for anything. That lesson stuck with me deep. I put away what I could from every paycheck, sometimes skipping new shoes or a vacation just to see that pension number inch up. It was my safety net, my pride, my way of honoring Daddy's memory. Jerome had his own ideas about money, though. He rarely spoke them out loud. He liked new things, a car, the latest phone, dinner out when he was flush. But he always said, "You take care of us, Deborah. You got that nurse's mind for numbers." I thought it was trust. Looking back, I wonder if it was just convenience. Still, I never suspected a thing, not at first. There were signs, if I'm honest. Little cracks in the glass I chose not to see. The work meetings that ran late. The new cologne that wasn't from the bottle I'd bought him for his birthday. The way he started locking his phone, flinching when I walked into the room while he was texting. I told myself all marriages have their seasons, that we were just in a rough patch, and I prayed for us every night. But the biggest change, the one I couldn't ignore, came quietly. Jerome stopped going to church with me. That was our thing. Every Sunday morning, rain or shine, sitting side by side in the same pew at Greater Hope Baptist, just like we'd done for years. Suddenly, he always had an excuse. "I'm tired, Deborah," or "I've got errands to run." At first I let it go, but after months the gap between us grew wider, colder. I'd find myself gripping the hymnal a little tighter, feeling the absence of his arm around my shoulders. Still, I tried to hold us together. I invited him to join me for dinner, for walks, for anything that might bring us close again. He brushed me off with a shrug or a distracted, "Maybe next time." I found lipstick on his shirt one evening, a pale color, nothing like mine. When I confronted him, he laughed it off, saying it must have been from a coworker's hug. I wanted so badly to believe him. My friends noticed the change in me first. Kesha brought over a pan of her famous peach cobbler and sat with me on my back porch one night. "You don't have to go through this alone, Deborah," she said gently. We got you. My sister Brenda called every night after dinner just to check in. My best friend Tanya drove me to every appointment and made sure I ate something, even on the days when I could barely hold a fork. Through it all, my family and friends lifted me up. They refused to let me fall into despair. The breaking point came on an ordinary Tuesday. I came home after a double shift to find divorce papers on the kitchen table. No note, no explanation, just his name at the bottom and a sticky note that said, "We'll talk." My hands shook so badly I couldn't even hold the papers at first. 10 years, erased with a signature. When I finally calmed down enough to read through the documents, I saw the real betrayal. Jerome wasn't just leaving me, he was demanding half my pension. My pension. The money I'd scrimped and saved for. The money I'd sacrificed for while he bought gadgets and ate out on my overtime. That was the moment the pain turned to fire in my chest. That night I cried until I couldn't anymore. I curled up on the couch and stared at the ceiling, feeling like I'd been buried alive. But when the sun came up, something inside me hardened. I realized I had a choice. I could let this destroy me, or I could fight for my peace, for my future. I chose me. What Jerome didn't know, could never have known, was that I'd seen the writing on the wall years earlier. After my second round of layoffs at the hospital, I'd sat down with a financial advisor and made a plan. I'd cashed out my pension, paid the penalties, and quietly invested most of it into my own little dream, a mobile soul food kitchen. I'd grown up watching my mama and aunties cook, and I'd always wanted to share that love with the world. I kept my plans close to my chest, not even telling my closest friends, just in case. The food truck was my salvation in more ways than one. After my shifts, I spent weekends learning the business, perfecting recipes, building relationships with vendors. I worked on the menu late at night, tested out dishes on family and friends, all the while saving every dollar I could. My vision was simple: feed people, share joy, and create something that was mine alone. In the weeks that followed the divorce filing, Jerome acted like nothing had changed. He strutted around the house, barely acknowledging me, already acting like the victor. He had no idea that his payday wasn't coming. I stayed calm, played my part, and waited for the court date. My lawyer, a sharp woman named Miss Carter, handled the paperwork. Every time Jerome looked smug, I thought of Daddy's voice, "Always have your own." The day of the court hearing was clear and bright, the kind of morning that makes you believe in new beginnings. I dressed carefully, my best navy suit, hair pulled back, not a tremor in my hand. My friends and sister showed up to support me, their presence a quiet shield. Jerome arrived in his best suit, grinning like the cat who got the cream. He barely glanced at me. We sat across from each other in that sterile courtroom, a chasm between us. The judge reviewed the documents, eyes moving back and forth. Miss Carter handed over the financial disclosures. There was a hush as the judge read them, the tension thick as grits. Then the judge looked up, eyes narrowed. "Sir, there's no pension left to divide," she announced, her voice echoing off the courtroom walls. For a moment you could have heard a pin drop. Jerome's face changed in an instant. He stuttered, his jaw working furiously. Then, with a sudden burst of rage, he punched the wall and hit the table so hard that the whole room went silent. Papers flew. The bailiff stepped forward, ready to intervene. Everyone stared, but I just watched, steady and calm, as the truth finally landed. He looked at me like I'd spat in his sweet tea. I kept my voice even, quiet but unbreakable. "That pension's gone, Jerome. I learned a long time ago, never let a greedy man eat twice off your table. The judge banged her gavel, adjourned the session, and just like that it was over. Jerome stormed out, red-faced and silent, shoving past everyone. I gathered my things, hugged my friends and sister, and walked out with my head held high. Outside the courthouse, Jerome's rage boiled over. He turned on me in the parking lot, hurling every miserable name he could think of, calling me selfish, cold-hearted, ungrateful, even a liar. People watched, some with pity, some with judgment. I stood tall, refusing to shrink under his words. "Say what you want, Jerome," I said quietly. "But today you don't get to take another thing from me." My friends and family formed a protective circle around me, ushering me away, keeping me safe. I didn't flinch. I didn't look back. Every step away from that courthouse felt lighter, as if I was walking out from under a heavy storm cloud. That night I sat in my little apartment, surrounded by moving boxes and the smell of cardboard and hope. I looked at the final divorce papers, the empty space where Jerome's claim had been denied, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years: freedom. I made a plan. I took the keys to my food truck, my dream, my new beginning, and drove it into the heart of the city. I set up at the park downtown, opened the windows, and started serving up fried catfish, collard greens, cornbread, and peach cobbler to a line of folks who knew my worth even when Jerome didn't. Word spread quickly: Deborah's soul food on wheels. People laughed, shared stories, and filled my tip jar. For the first time in ages, I felt alive. I poured myself into that business, working sunup to sundown, perfecting recipes and building a loyal customer base. The food truck became a safe haven, a place where people gathered and shared more than just a meal. I hired a couple of young people from the neighborhood, taught them the recipes my mama handed down, and watched as they grew too. Meanwhile, Jerome tried to save face. He spun stories about how I'd tricked him, how I'd stolen what was his. But the truth always finds its way out. Folks in Birmingham have long memories. They saw him for what he was, a man who tried to take more than he gave and lost everything because of it. I started saving again, this time for myself. I put away every extra dollar, thinking of my daddy's words. With each passing week, the pain of betrayal faded, replaced by pride.
Ide surviva. Ide rabuil.
I'd chosen myself, and I wasn't sorry. After a few months, I knew it was time for something new. The city was full of memories, some good, many painful, and I wanted a fresh start. I found a spot in a city a few hours away where nobody knew my story, except what I chose to tell. I packed up my things, sold the old house, and set out with my food truck, heart full of hope and determination. In my new city, life began to bloom again. I joined a church where I wasn't Jerome's wife, but just Deborah, welcomed with open arms. I met people who valued me for my heart and my cooking, not what I could give or sacrifice. I started hosting community dinners, sharing meals with folks who needed a little extra kindness. My business flourished, and so did I. Every now and then, I'd hear from old friends back home, telling me about Jerome's latest schemes, his bitterness, his loneliness. He lost the woman who loved him, the security he schemed for, and his pride, all in one day. But I never let it sour my spirit. Sometimes, when the day's work is done, I sit outside my food truck with a glass of sweet tea and watch the sunset. I think about the woman I used to be, the one who built a life around someone else, who believed love meant giving until you had nothing left. I honor her, but I don't miss her. I know now that real love starts with loving yourself enough to walk away from what breaks you. There are scars, sure. Some nights I still dream about the life I lost, wake up with tears on my cheeks. But I remind myself those scars are proof that I survived, that I chose my own happiness over someone else's comfort. I earned every bit of peace I have now. The truth is, sometimes the hardest battles give you the clearest vision. I see myself now strong and whole. My story isn't one of loss, but of triumph. Of a woman who was betrayed, but never broken. Of a woman who found her voice, her joy, and her freedom. And if you're reading this, if you're standing at the edge of your own heartbreak wondering if you can survive, know that you can. Choose yourself. Build something beautiful from the ashes. Never let anyone eat twice off your table. Because me, I finally got free. She didn't just survive, she rose. Because sometimes walking away is the most powerful thing you can do. And when you bet on yourself, you don't just win, you heal, you thrive, and you inspire. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.